Yo, welcome back to Creeps and Crime
Podcast.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday and happy episode 193.
This is making a lot of sound, so I'm going to take a sip of my 19 Crimes wine because we're drinking today.
I made a bussin' margarita with Alto's tequila, I think it was, about a year-old Jose Cuervo mix.
Yep.
Cherry concentrate.
Because we can't talk today.
Cherry concentrate and a splash of Sprite. And honestly, it's really good.
It was so good. I took a drink and I was like, leave that out.
Yeah,
we're
said we're not
back.
putting this away. We will be back.
Yeah, because once I finish, I just got to get rid of this damn bottle because I wanted it yesterday and then I didn't want it again today. And I was like, I have to get rid of it. It'll just sit in there and go bad.
Yeah. I'm also feeling a little drunk and I've taken 2 sips.
I haven't had but 1 sip now of this wine, but I think 2 sips in, I'm going down.
No, like this might be a bad app for me.
Good.
Yeah. And Taylor's like, you'll need it. She's like, yells up at me, do you want anything to drink? I was like, no, I have a water. I'm good. She was like, no, like a gin or like a spritzer. I was like, actually, yeah, I'll be down.
Yeah.
Because I've had a shit day at work. Come down. She's like, what did you offer me? Oh, you pulled out my tonic.
Yeah,
my
I
gin.
pulled out the gin and tonic.
She pulled out my gin. I was like, actually, grab the big bottle of tequila.
I was like,
I'm going for the tequila today.
Whoa. So clearly we've had an interesting day. Okay. Side note, side quest craziness going on. First off, I need you guys to know that I got a painting from a thrift store and I'm obsessed with it. And it's in my living room.
Stunning.
It's stunning. It's drop dead gorgeous. I've never been more obsessed with anything in my life. So anyways, I've been in this like little mood of, adding, because now I've got a lot of like shit in the house. I just need to like put it in its place where it's gonna live and like decorate in that way and go. And so like this is me for the first time being able to build on my base design that I did. So anyways, I've been like kind of obsessed and like I always have been looking up stuff about this house, like pulling shit from the time that we moved in. Guys, I'm outside my garden today because Morgan texted me. I sent Morgan a picture of my cucumbers in my garden and she's like, how the fuck are you outside?
I walk out of work, I mean the biggest rain droplets I have ever seen. I parked. Okay, if you work with me and you're listening to this.
No, you don't.
No, you fucking don't.
No, you fucking don't.
I parked 10 feet away from the door. And I got soaked. It was raining so hard. So she's sending me this picture, sunny day, out in the garden, harvesting her vegetables. I'm like, do we live in the same fucking city? Because it is not like that here. It is a torrential downpour.
She sends me this picture. She's sopping wet. It's literally black outside. Like you can't even see on the interstate. I'm like in a different universe up here. And so I'm like, oh shit, well I better hurry because about that time I see it rolling and I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, I gotta get these cucumbers because my cucumbers fell off the trellis, so I had to put them back on the trellis, and I bet you $1 million they've already ripped off.
It was
fully.
windy.
It was so windy. So I'm out there, wrapping their little cute vines around. I'm making sure that they're on tight, and I'm like, okay, I think these are good. And as I'm about to come back in, my neighbor, she yells at me and she's like, hey, I found this picture of your house. It's from 1901. It's got the description on the back, da-da-da-da. And she's like, did the former owners leave you the box? And I'm like, the box. And she's like, the box that has all of the pictures that we have sourced from the original owners of the house from like every angle of the street, like what got it registered with the Historic Society, all of the documents, everything. I'm like, what the fuck? No, I've been doing this on Ancestry and on like, I've been in the archives and shit. I've been on been verified. Literally the Sanborn fire maps. I've been digging through. I'm talking knees deep in this fucking research and I've never found this box that she's talking about. So I'm like, okay, where do you think it would be? And she's like, well, they said that they left it for you because they had done all of this research. So then I remember that they left us like a stack of files and stuff and there was like a note on it and it like had a little thing for us and there was a bunch of keys. Well, there's this one key that we don't know what it goes to. So I wonder if it's like in a fire safe box somewhere.
Maybe.
And so we tried to look up in the attic, but we don't have a ladder tall enough to get us all the way up there. So like I just stuck my hand up there with not me. Correction. Logan.
All right, got it.
I was literally terrified. I was like, I can't get anywhere near that.
She was replaying me the video and we paused. I'm like, oh, is that a face? And then she presses play and all you hear is this, all right. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's a face.
That's it. That's a face. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out, I already like went underneath my stairs because there was like some files back there and like the original, the paint cans for the whole house. So I know like what color everything is, and they're like half full, so fucking great. I need to go fix that front anyways. There's a little spot. But anyways, I've been literally tearing this house apart. Can't find it. I don't know if they didn't leave it, but are there laws on like if I'm allowed to?
This is my theory. There's more storage in this house that we haven't
come across. Because here's another thing. That attic, I know where the hollow spaces are in the ceiling because I'm looking at the house.
Is there a covered crawl space at the
There's
bottom?
A crawl
underneath?
space, but
is it covered?
It's locked. Like it's covered, but like you can't even like reach your hand underneath there. It's that low.
Oh, okay.
Like when the inspector did it, they had to do it with a scope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyways, if there's any laws, it's public. Not they left me their names. They didn't leave me their phone number or anything. But like,
right, it's not like an adoption.
Can I like email them and be like?
I think you can.
Yeah. Like I don't feel like there'd be any like drama if I did.
Yeah, I don't think they'll like come back with hostility. Like, how'd you get our email?
Yeah.
I think they would be like,
and if they ask me, like, I'm a fucking true crime podcaster.
And they might be really appreciative that you're interested in it to begin with.
Yeah, of course. And they were like, they're researchers, so they'll be like, oh my God, love to share our research with you, right? Like that's what researchers do. I'm like, I'm not gonna publish anything. I just want to fucking read it.
We'll publish it one day.
Yeah, don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. I will be publishing someday.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's gonna be that though.
Yeah, that's just shady that we can't find the box anywhere, so they sell it.
And also she gave me a picture. Like I said, the picture is so fucking creepy. Dude, the picture is
she sent that to me. I knew damn well her house was behind it. I said, I hate that. She goes, that's my house. I said, yeah. I hate that picture.
I hate it.
What are those people doing in front of our studio?
They look like they're dead.
No, I don't get why people took pictures like that then.
I don't know why either.
Why didn't anyone smile?
Did you see those hedges? I like those hedges. I want those hedges.
Yeah, those were nice.
That's what I need.
And your conjuring tree in front.
And my conjuring tree directly in front of the house. Guys, there were 2 conjuring trees. And I'm not shitting you. It is the conjuring tree. It's like they copied and pasted it from the movie
we
set.
are in the Conjuring house.
Yeah.
There's a new movie coming out.
Ooh.
Should we go see it? And by see it, I mean cover our faces.
A new Conjuring movie?
Yeah. By see it, I mean go to the big screen, cover half the screen with our hand, and only look at the top left corner.
I'll wear my special scary movie sweater that I can see holes through.
Oh.
And I'll sit there with my head covered the entire time. Yeah, dude. You actually have one of the blankets that I used as the
pink one.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
See holes in it.
I do that right now when I'm watching my show.
Yeah, best.
Well, I hope that we get to the bottom of the history of your home.
The treasure. Your home. Like, she tells me that. I'm like, bitch, you're telling me there's treasure.
You're sending me on a treasure.
There's treasure. This is national treasure.
I just cleaned. Neighbor. Yeah. Should I tell them about Ollie?
Yes.
So Ollie's been weird. Ollie's been weird since he's left my mother's house. Actually, Addison's going to yell at me because she says this show is not about Ollie and I need to stop talking about him. Addison, shut the fuck up. So Ollie's been weird since he's left my mom's house because he's been playing with her 2 dogs. My mom is like always has them outside all day long, throwing the ball. She got nothing else to do.
Super active.
She's super active with the dogs. So when he comes back to us, he's at home when we're both at work. Some days I come home for just a couple minutes and then I leave until nighttime. Mm-hmm. And his daddy's been golfing an awful lot. And
yeah, why have they been golfing so much?
I don't know, because Aaron got new clubs.
Yeah.
I blame Aaron. I'm so sorry. And so anyway, last week we got the new bed. We got the new dresser. Still no update on it, but we got a new bed too. And this bed is raised up off the floor. So our other one was like a low rider. So he couldn't get underneath the bed. Since we've gotten this new bed, he's been constantly underneath of it, but like he always, comes back up. He'll lay with us, and then when I wake up, he's still with me on the bed, but he'll go down there and like before I go to sleep. So I've been coming home and I've recently been finding him up underneath the bed. And by the time I walk through the door, I think he can't hear me because it is in the other side of the house. I'll walk around, and then once he hears me, he comes up, and I always meet him like he's like peeking around the dark bedroom door, like, who is it?
Hey.
And I'm like right in the kitchen. I'm like, hey, what's
Good
up?
To
and
see
then he
you.
comes and he gives me his hugs and his hellos and he greets me. Well, yesterday he didn't greet me. I walked in that door and I'm screaming, Ollie, Ollie, nothing. I walk around the house. I'm like, where's Ollie? Because he likes to play that game. He does like to play hide and seek. Nothing. So I walk into the bedroom. I'm like, Ollie, and I'm not even hearing movement. I'm not even hearing the tail like this. And
so you're panicked.
That was weird. I'm like, no, wait, really? Where the fuck is my dog?
Yeah.
I peek under the bed and he is buried into the backside, like against the wall. And he's looking at me. And I'm like, hey, buddy, come on. Like, let's go. And he's like, not even like flinching, not blinking, just like dead face staring at me. So I grabbed his front 2 paws and I start pulling at him and he's growling at me.
Immediately in jail.
And I'm like, oh my God, okay. So I go and I bribe him out with a bone. He comes out, he takes his bone, he sits in the living room for about 3 minutes, and then he gets up. And when he's in the living room, he's not eating his bone. It's just has
in his
cheeks
mouth.
spread like he's smiling and just staring at me like this. He walks the bone back into the bedroom and lays underneath the floor. So I'm texting Taylor. I'm like, dude, something is wrong.
Taylor, something's really wrong with Ollie.
I'm like, I'm really concerned with Ollie. And she's like, okay, well, get him back out of the room. Shut the bedroom door. I'm like, okay. So this time I go get pepperoni. And I'm like, you want a piece of pepperoni, buddy? And I lure him out of the room and I shut the bedroom door. I give him his pepperoni. He eats it. He walks back to the door. He stops and he looks at me.
Like
he's ready to go back.
Open the door, bitch.
And I'm like, buddy, like, what's wrong? Like, I'm being super, super dramatic. So I'm texting Taylor. I'm like, first, before I even am doing that, I'm on Google.
Yeah.
And Google's like, dogs hide when they're really sick. Also, when I went to grab him, he was sopping wet in his armpits and his like arms. Mm-hmm. And my mom was like, well, maybe, he is sick internally and he's just licking himself because that's the only way he can like get to it. Because there's no hot spots, there's no bites, there's no red marks, nothing. So I'm like, I don't know. That's weird. So I call the vet.
Yep.
Ollie's vaccinations are up at the end of the month anyway, so he needs to go. They've been hounding my email. And I'm like, hey. And she's like, hi. And I was like, I need to schedule an appointment for Ollie Mounts. And she was like, okay. And she was like, so are you just here? Are you just getting your vax updated? I see they go out at the end of the month. I was like, yes. And I was like, Annie's having some behavioral issues. And she's like, okay, well, just hang on the line like 1 second. Behavioral changes, I say. She's like, just hang on the line for 1 second. I'm like, okay. I'm like 90 miles an hour. Like,
it's when they put you on hold because you're like, you're thinking of everything you're going to say.
And the worst part is she said, because I want to ask you a couple more questions. So my heart's like this. I'm like,
God,
he's dead. He's dying. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. And she's like, so what's going on? And this is what I say to the woman. He didn't greet me at the door today. She's like, what? I was like, he always greets me.
Me and Morgan literally laughed about this for about 4 hours last night.
I was like, he always greets me, and he literally didn't today. I'm
like, that's
and then he growled and then he growled at me, and then I say, and he's also a tornado victim. He was home alone when the tornado hit. We were a 3rd floor unit. The roofs got swept away.
Side note, he was not alone.
He was not alone. Aaron was there.
Aaron was there at the house.
And she was like, oh, well, I'm so sorry to hear that. I said, so he's been having a lot of anxiety, since the tornado.
The roof was removed.
And it was raining last night. And it was really windy
Morgan's
today.
Like, tell me exactly when the rain stopped. I'm like,
okay. I took this picture at 9:30 a.m.
I took this picture at 9:38 a.m. And this one was at 12:20 a.m. outside. You can see.
I was a mess on the phone. Like, I wasn't crying, but I was literally like, he won't greet me. And she's like, okay. And so I was like, so I want a full workup, please, when we come in next week.
Dude.
I am actually concerned, though, but I truly think, we already know he's an anxious dog. And he's dramatic as fuck, because then I'm on film with Taylor.
Yeah.
This motherfucker hasn't barked all week, hasn't been in my face barking, playing. Taylor gets on the phone first time in a week, and he's like, row. Squeak, 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 squeak. She's like, yeah, he's really depressed. Morg, like, he's done. He's done.
He's done
bad.
for.
Aaron walks through the door 40 minutes later. He's
up, shaking, wagging his tail.
Yeah, he's good. So I just think that I think he's mad at me.
Yeah.
I think he's being fucking dramatic. And I think he's mad at me. I hope that's what it is.
That's exactly what I said. I think that he's mad at you. That I work, that he's not
that I have a life outside of him.
Exactly. And that he doesn't have his buddies like he does when he's at home.
And then, well, it is going to be hard to tell though, because Bentley's going to be here this week. So he's going to be back to normal.
Yeah.
Then Bentley's going to leave and he's going to be like,
yeah. Well, you'll know right then and there what it is. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to tell. And plus he's having a full workup.
And if that's the case, he's having a full workup. X-rays? Sure.
Yeah.
Daddy's card
Get them done. Dofi is losing it. Sign off. I mean, not sign off.
If you're driving, throw that shit on cruise control.
If you got a glass, pour that shit up.
And let's get creepy. Taylor's gonna go first today.
I'm going first today only because I have a really rough case. I just want Morgan to bring it home on a happy note or a fun note or a not horrific note. Sorry, my cord from my mic is wrapped around my leg.
Or on a demonic note.
On a demonic note. Still fun, you know.
Still fun.
Still funsies. So the case I have for you guys today, I want to start off by giving you a trigger warning. This is the case of the Gainesville Ripper, the Gainesville Murders, and the trigger warnings are for rape, sexual assault, graphic details, mental health discussions, abuse, death of a child, violent crimes against college-aged women, necrophilia, mutilation of corpse, and just overall disturbing content. Now, I tried my best to keep the majority of the stuff that is added disturbing detail to a certain section, which I will give you guys the opportunity to skip past, and I'll time stamp it in our description below. For the most part, I've kept it pretty tame until that part, and I'll let again, I'm going to let you know before we get there, but overall this is a rather disturbing case. I'm just going to jump right into it. First, I need a drink of wine though. You might need a drink of yours too.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, this case gives a level to BTK to me. So you'll understand it later, but also BTK meets Ted Bundy.
Jeez, I'm not thrilled about this.
Not thrilled. And I didn't let myself go into what I did with BTK with the psychological background.
When she texted me, she was like, I found something that's like a once in every 6 month case. Mm-hmm. I'm covering it. And I said, don't go BTK.
Don't go down that again.
I said, stay far away. Distance. I think my exact text was distance yourself.
Immediately. And I didn't let myself go down that. In fact, I really don't take the time to even go into the majority of it when it comes to that side of it. And I did that on purpose. So anyways, I know I'm prompting you guys a lot, but I truly just want you to be aware. If you don't feel like you're ready for this today, if you just already having a bad day and maybe just need to take a break, go ahead. It's okay. Skip to Morgan's case. I'll also time mark that in the description below.
Skip to me.
So jumping right into it. Sunday, August 26, 1990. Patricia and Frank Powell arrive at their daughter's apartment complex in Gainesville, Florida. Their daughter, Christina Powell, was 17 years old, and she had just moved in with her roommate, 18-year-old Sonia Larson, in this apartment complex just 2 days before on Friday, August 24th. Now, these are off-campus apartments, and they are called the Williamsburg Village, and both girls were so excited. I mean, this was their first time moving away from home, and they were just about to kick off their freshman year at the University of Florida. Sonia and Christina had actually met only 2 or so months prior while attending summer classes at the university. Obviously, they headed off because they were like, let's be besties, let's be roommates, go to college together type of thing. Christina was described to be this bright young lady who was fun, kind, and just beyond excited for this next chapter in her life. Being a Gator was something that she had dreamt of her entire life, so much so that when she got accepted, it was all that she could talk about. Her family threw this huge party, and they presented her with a gold necklace that had the school's mascot on it. Aww. So the Gator. Alligator Gator.
Yeah, not a fan.
Not a fan. Chomp chomp. But
we
really,
chomp,
really
chomp,
sweet.
Chomp, chomp.
You know, we get it. And she wore that necklace every single day. Sonia was a little bit more reserved than Christina, but she was described to be this incredibly kind, helpful, and just great friend, daughter. And she was always smiling, happy, and just thrilled to be a Gator, which was something that she wanted to be forever. And then also to start her dream of working towards her passion, which is working with children in some way, shape, or form. Now, neither of the girls' parents were super happy that they decided to live off campus, but it wasn't like they decided. It was because there was not enough on-campus dorms for freshmen to live in at this point in time at the University of Florida. So together, the girls decided they were going to live in Williamsburg Village because they were considered to be really safe. A lot of other freshmen that couldn't get into a dorm lived there, and they were literally on campus basically. Now, the way that the layout of this apartment is described is similar to actually your sophomore year apartment, Morgan, but the building itself more so looked like the apartments that are Is that rain?
Yeah, it's pouring.
Holy shit. The boys.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Karma's a bitch.
I should have known better. So the boys are golfing right now. So the building itself though looked more like Arletta, where Arletta lived when she was here. So right behind. Yeah. That's what it looks like. And I know you guys literally have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. It literally looks just like those buildings.
No, like were the units 2 stories like mine, the Woodlands?
Yeah, 2 stories like yours, but only technically 3 stories like Arletta's in those big white buildings with the like front entry door that went to stairwells. I know you guys have no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
But I get it. And that's all that matters because I'm the only one here right now. I'm just kidding. There's thousands of you also here.
You're making me laugh and you're also making me choke on snot in the back of my throat.
That sounds gross. You should just take a drink and clear it out.
When I laughed and it sent it straight down my throat.
Oh, kava was picked up.
We ordered some food. Okay, I'm going to describe to you what this apartment building would look like. So you'd walk in the front door. It was like a big white building, like small underground, like, you know what I mean by basement windows, like the tiny half windows.
Yes.
On the bottom. And then like the second floor was technically the first floor of the second floor apartments that were 2-story, if that makes any sense. So like bottom. Okay, let me read what I wrote. Let me stop describing it to you. So you'd walk in the door to the building and immediately there would be interior stairs, 1 set going up and 1 set going down. On the ground level, if you were to go down, there were smaller 1-bedroom apartments that were like basically half underground, if that makes sense.
So my first apartment.
Like your first apartment.
With Aaron.
Exactly.
We lived in a dungeon.
And then the second floor, there were 2-bedroom apartments that were 2 stories, which is where theirs was located, Christina and Sonia's. And basically you'd walk up the set of stairs to the second floor where their front door was, and immediately you'd walk into their living room. Beyond that would be like a bathroom, a small kitchen dining area with other stairs that would take you to the top level, which is where I believe both of the girls' bedrooms were located. And like I said, just 2 days earlier on Friday, August 24th, the girls got their keys and moved in, and after a really long day of lugging their boxes to the second floor and unpacking and doing all the things, they were starving. So together they went in town and they grabbed a bite to eat at a local restaurant. And before heading back to their apartment, Christina stopped at a payphone outside of the restaurant and called her parents, Frank and Patricia. She told them that they got moved in, but it was going to take a few more days before they could get their landline set up for the apartment, so they didn't have a phone yet. And she confirmed with them that they would still be good to come visit on the following Sunday, and told them that she would call them and check in the next day, which was Saturday. So they said their I love yous and their goodbyes, at which point Christina and Sonia got back in their car, headed back to their new apartment to continue unpacking, decorating, and eventually maybe go out. But I don't think they decided to. So the next day came and went, and there was no call from Christina to Patricia or Frank. And this brings us back to where we started on Sunday, August 26th. Frank and Patricia make their way to their daughter's apartment complex using the address that she had given them just 2 days earlier. And they were a little unhappy with the fact that she didn't call to check in like she had promised, but they understood that she was busy, she probably forgot, and plus like it's not even convenient for her. She'd have to go out to a payphone and call them from there. So they're like, okay, not a big deal.
Right.
So they park, they enter the building, they go up to the second floor, they find her apartment door, and immediately they notice like there's a few notes taped on the front door from friends that had stopped by.
Orange
and
slips.
Not orange
slips. Pay
slips.
your rent. Orange slips.
Not those. More like
More
like a text message that you would leave today on a ripped out piece of notebook paper taped to the thing. But yes, exactly.
I always appreciated you when I did get my orange slips because you would just put it in my room.
Yeah.
Everyone else would throw it on the kitchen table. I'm like, I'm going to die.
And put it underneath your pillow. Like the tooth fairy.
Hey, you got an orange slip. Everyone else would be like, it's parrot. I'm like, it's coming.
You know, I
have a grace period.
You know, I would literally rather die than ever tell someone they owed me anything ever, or owed anyone anything ever.
You really were always the nicest one about it.
Yeah, dude.
You found one.
Money to me is meant to be moved like that. Okay,
oh, that's so funny.
I'm sorry.
I had a grace period. All right,
there's a grace
5
period.
days, and they gave you the orange slip the day before the grace period. Like, give it to me.
It was
after.
bullshit. They would drop them off if your auto pay didn't go through because it was a fucking Saturday that the first lane.
Yeah, it was just fucking cruel.
It was bullshit.
Cruel
The
world.
15th. It was the 15th that we paid. That's what it was.
Yep. And I had till the 20th every month, and
Yep.
the 18th would come. Here's my orange slip. I'm like, I got 2 days.
I literally am fine. Literally shut the fuck up. Like what?
Fun
So
times.
Anyways, immediately they notice these notes, and they're from friends. They're handwritten, and they're taped on the door, and they say, hey, it's Saturday at 7 p.m. Waited for you to go to a party, but you never showed up. Like, meet us there later. And then it's like, hey, stop by. We just got home from the party. You still never came. Where are you at? Knocking on the door. This really worried Patricia and Frank because clearly they're not the only ones who hadn't heard from their daughter or her roommate. So they begin like kind of frantically knocking on the door, and there's no answer. They put their ears up to the door. They don't hear anyone inside, but they saw that their daughter's car was there. So she's in there somewhere. And after standing at the door for like close to 10 minutes, Frank and Patricia decided that they were going to go find someone in the complex that could let them in. And that's how they came across the apartment complex maintenance man. He told them that he would be able to let them in only if he got approval from the property manager. So together, all three of them went down to the leasing office, explained to the manager the situation, and the manager explained that they would have to request a police escort just for liability and safety reasons. And so that's exactly what they did. They had the maintenance man call 911. He says, hey, like no one's heard from these girls for 48 hours. They just moved in. We're kind of worried about their well-being. Can you get someone out here? Gainesville had someone like within 15 minutes, if that. Yeah. Now, I want to pause here because there's actually another version of these events that got us up to this point that have been reported on. And just for clarity, I'm going to explain it because if you look at different research, it's all different, obviously. So the second version is that Christina did call Friday from that payphone, etc. However, instead of her parents having this pre-planned visit for Sunday, it was actually not planned. What had prompted the visit was apparently on Saturday the 25th, Christina's sister and brother-in-law were supposed to drop off her mattress, her bed frame. What are you laughing at? What are you laughing
at? Just the way you said apparently there, all I heard was inapparently.
Inapparently.
I've never been on live television before.
That's what I give her my nose being stopped up. Inapparently.
All I saw was the kid.
Yeah, the kids and meet your redhead.
It's the tequila.
It's the drinks. Because I'm figgity fucked. I'm buzzing like a motherfucker.
Yeah, me too. My cheeks are fucked.
Woo! Okay, so apparently... The day before, on Saturday the 25th, Christina's sister and brother-in-law were supposed to drop off her mattress and her bed frame. So they came and they knocked on the door like they planned, and no one was there. They stood there forever, holding the mattress, holding the bed frame, being like, bitch, where the fuck are you? And she never came to the door. So they eventually left, called the Powells and the Larsons, so both Sonia and Christina's parents. They find out that the girls were only last heard from on Friday, and they realized that it was that payphone call, and past then they haven't heard anything. So the Larsons and the Powells agreed to give them until Sunday morning to reach out, and when no one had heard from the girls still, because the Powells lived closer than the Larsons, they got in the car, drove to the apartment complex to go check on them. So either way, some reason, some way, police are called, parents are there, property manager's there, maintenance man is there. This gets us to the point where that happens.
We're entering the unit.
Yes. So minutes, after the police officer arrives, they told Patricia and Frank that they had to wait outside the building just for protocol. And together, the police officer and the maintenance man and the property manager went up to Christina and Sonia's apartments with the master key. They entered the front door in the order of the officer, then the maintenance man, and then the property manager, while continually just like yelling out for the girls with no response. When you walked in, to the right, there was the couch and the TV area, like the living room, but like if from the angle that you walked in order to see if someone was like sleeping on the couch, you'd have to walk around in front of the TV, and they get in front of the couch that's facing the TV and they see her. There on the floor, lying in front of the couch, was the body of 17-year-old Christina Powell. She was on her back in a, quote, sexually provocative position, with her arms above her head, her hair fanned out, completely nude, with her breasts mutilated, and several stab wounds to her back.
Oh my God.
Upon laying his eyes on Christina's body, the maintenance man sprinted out of the apartment, down the stairs, out the door, past Patricia and Frank, where he was screaming, crying, and projectile vomiting.
Oh my God.
Immediately, knowing that something terrible had happened, Patricia and Frank began sprinting inside the building, up the stairs, into their daughter's apartment, shoving past the police officer and the property manager to their daughter's body with the strength that only a parent that had to reach their baby could have. The officer quickly explained that they needed to get out at that very moment because this was a crime scene. They laid eyes on their daughter. They saw her like that. They were basically drug out of the apartment. So the Powells and the property manager went downstairs with the maintenance guy, and they called Sonia's family, and then the police officer called for backup. The officer went back upstairs by himself and then went to the second floor of the apartment, where he found the body of 18-year-old Sonia Larson. She was lying on the edge of her bed with her feet on the floor in a similar sexually provocative position as Christina, also completely nude, with her hair brushed and fanned out, stabbed to death. Later, investigators would say that this was one of those crime scenes that scarred them so deeply because they had never seen anything like that before. Within minutes, the apartment complex was swarming with crime scene investigators, forensics teams, and homicide detectives. From the jump, detectives did not believe that this was a crime at random or just a crime of opportunity, but instead someone who had targeted Christina and Sonia. Both of the women had defensive wounds, but specifically Sonia's were way more prevalent. Sonia had been stabbed several times in her torso and her arms, whereas Christina had been stabbed only 5 times in her back. And as I said, their breasts were mutilated, as in the killer had cut off the women's nipples to keep them as a trophy. And it was clear that both Christina and Sonia had been raped and sexually assaulted before, during, and after their attacks. One of the first things that investigators determined was that someone had clearly used a screwdriver or a similar tool to break in the door to the apartment. And also lying nearby Christina's body, they located a towel and a bottle of soap, which looked to have been used to clean up not only the crime scene, but both of the girls' bodies. In an attempt to get rid of evidence, it's really evident that they had meticulously staged this crime scene. And this was only more so confirmed when the officer observed this like sticky residue on both of the girls' wrists and mouths, like what you would get on your arm if you had like duct tape or a Band-Aid or something like that. And adhesive, yes. And it indicated that both of the girls had been gagged, as in the tape was placed around their mouths and their wrist during their attack, and then removed after the attacks and tried to be cleaned up, meaning whoever had done this was clearly making a statement by posing their bodies, which is terrifying because immediately it shows that this is a sophisticated killer or group of killers that would likely strike again. So because of this, on Sunday night, police worked alongside the media to get a bulletin out to the public, telling all students and residents of Gainesville what had happened and that they think this person will be striking again, so everyone needed to essentially shelter in place. This was going to be a city-wide effort to try and locate Christina and Sonia's attacker or attackers. And obviously, the entire city of Gainesville is terrified, especially the parents who had literally just 2 days before dropped off their kids at the university there. Mm-hmm. So it almost was like they purposefully caused public hysteria because it was that concerning and people truly needed to be aware of what was going on. And very quickly, investigators' theories were proven right because just down the road from the University of Florida was Santa Fe College. And there, 18-year-old Krista Hoyt was a chemistry honors student with dreams of becoming a police officer serving in some like forensics capacity when she graduated. And she was described to be this like very smart, happy, kind girl with this like very independent mindset and just a strong sense of justice. So to prepare herself for what she wanted to do and get her foot in the door, while in college, she worked part-time night shift as a records clerk for the local sheriff's office in Gainesville. She was so loved by her coworkers, and they just said that like she kept the office young and entertained. Like she's
the personality hire,
exactly. And one of the main
and she was
stories,
intelligent. I don't take that away,
of course, but like
you can be intelligent and the personality
everyone was
hire.
obsessed with her. You know what I mean? And so like one of the favorite stories that everyone like on documentaries that I watched told about Krista was the fact that she had gotten her wisdom teeth out, like removed in the afternoon one day, and still went to work that evening, came in looking like a chipmunk. She did this because she loved her job so much. Aww. And she's literally like us with Thursdays. Like it's an attendance record. Like if you put me on the schedule, like
I'll be there.
It's coming out. The episode's coming out. I'm going to be there. So she would never, ever miss a shift that she was scheduled for, which is why on the night of Sunday, August 26th, when she failed to show up for her shift or answer any of the several phone calls that were made by her coworkers to her apartment, the sheriff's office actually dispatched 2 deputies to her apartment located only 2 miles away from Christina and Sonia's apartment, and Krista lived there alone. Now, tensions were already incredibly high considering just hours before Christina and Sonia's bodies were discovered. So they continually knocked on the door when they got there. No answer. They couldn't see through any windows because all of the blinds were closed, but they saw her car was in the parking lot. And at this point, the two deputies were like, okay, let's go around back. She lives on the ground floor of a single-story apartment. Like, let's see if there's any windows or anything back there. So they go around back, and there they find two glass sliding doors that lead from the patio into Christina's bedroom. And just like the windows, the blinds had been shut. However, the sliding door, like on the side that was the door itself, the blinds had been lifted up about like a foot at the bottom. They were like caught on something. So one of the officers got down on his hands and knees, and he shined the flashlight into Krista's bedroom. And almost immediately, he turns to the other deputy and he tells her, because she loved Krista, they were like really close. He tells her, do not look. You don't want to see this. You need to call for backup now.
This is the same night.
This is within hours.
Holy
They
crap.
were found in the afternoon. This is that evening at like 9 o'clock ish. And the timeline, guys, let me go ahead and tell you, the timeline is the hardest timeline I've ever pieced together, even compared to fucking Australian notes, which
That's
you know
so
I
weird
can't get
because
sources
that's
on.
actually how my case is today too.
What the hell?
I don't know what's up with what we
I don't
picked
know
in
what's
timelines,
going
but
on.
I was the same way.
It's like every other place says a different time, a different date. Like, it's really, really hard to piece together. So I've done my best with it. Anyways, this is hours after they discovered Christina and Sonia's bodies. So they call for backup, and homicide detectives arrive at the scene. They walk in the back sliding door to find the body of 18-year-old Krista in her bedroom, stabbed, mutilated, and trigger warning, beheaded. Trigger warning, skip forward at least 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. This is not the point that I'm telling you that it's really bad, but this is bad. And it's really important to the story. So skip forward 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. Her body was left sitting in a sitting position at the edge of her bed with her feet on the floor, her torso slumped forward, lying on her knees, whereas her head was sat directly across from her on a shelf facing not only her body, but the doorway of the sliding door so that anyone that entered the room would see her looking at them.
Holy shit.
Just like before, she had been stabbed in the back several times. She had clearly been raped. One of the stab wounds had ruptured her aorta, and she was then flipped on her front side where she was cut from her pubic bone to her breastbone. It was an awful scene, which became even more horrific once investigators determined that Krista had been ambushed by someone who had broke into her back sliding doors and waited on her to get home. She was then tortured for hours and raped and sexually assaulted prior to being stabbed, and it was followed by the mutilation. Investigators couldn't say for sure, but they were pretty much convinced that this was the same person who had killed Christina and Sonia, because in both cases, a large knife was used as a murder weapon. The apartments were broken into using what seemed to be a screwdriver, and the staging of the bodies. And not to mention, just like before, Krista had clearly been bound with tape and was removed and cleaned. The apartment had been cleaned using a towel and soap, just like before. This person was very carefully aware, obviously, of what police were looking for. So just like before, they took any evidence or anything that they brought with them, including the duct tape that was used to bind the girls. And within hours, all local and state law enforcement officials were in Gainesville patrolling every single street in search of this killer. By Monday morning, the 27th, this was national news headlines. Almost every single store in Gainesville was sold out of knives, deadbolts, extra locks, ammo, guns, mace, anything that you could think of that's a self-defense product. People were from all over the country that had friends and family in the area were frantically calling loved ones, asking them, like, what can I do for you to make sure that you're safe? Do you need mace? Do you need a deadbolt? I'll send it to you. What do you need? And one of those people was 23-year-old Lisa Byers. Lisa was watching the story unfold on the morning news while she was getting ready for her day that Monday morning, and she immediately picked up her phone and called her best friend in the entire world since she was a little girl girl, 23-year-old Tracy Paulus, who was living in Gainesville attending the university at the time. And just like any bestie, the second that Tracy picked up the phone, Lisa's firing off the questions left and right. Are you okay? What are you doing to protect yourself? Are you safe? Do you know anyone that's been harmed? Do you want me to come and get you? Do you want to come to me? Do you want to get the hell out of here? What can I do? What?
Do you not hear that? Did you just hear a voice on there?
No.
You didn't?
No. What do you mean?
I don't know. I just heard like a male's voice.
Was it that?
Yeah, what is that?
Okay, it's me moving this. Okay.
The back, the
woo, bitch, you used to get the fuck out of me.
Yeah, because when you didn't hear, you always hear everything.
Yeah, you used to get the fuck out of me.
I'm like, am I fucking possessed for my
Dude,
show?
no, I was like, you got drunk on tequila and now you're possessed. I opened up the fucking attic and now there's a demon down here. We're good. Okay. So she's firing off these questions. Are you okay? What can I do? Do you want to come to me? Do you want me to come to you? Like, what are you doing to protect yourself? And Tracy explains, like, look, I'm scared, of course, because this is terrifying, but I feel much safer than just the average girl because Tracy's roommate was one of her closest friends, and he was 23-year-old, huge former bulk football player dude named Manny Tabota. So she tells Lisa, like, look, me and Manny have a plan in place. We've already discussed it at length. Like, we have strict rules. If we're in the apartment, we're in the apartment together. If we're leaving the apartment to go to classes, to go to the store, to get food, to go meet with friends, to go to the library, to study, whatever the fuck, we're leaving together. Wherever Tracy went, Manny was with her. And Manny was making sure that he was wherever the fuck Tracy was. He was very protective over her. Like I said, they're only best friends, but like the guy best friend, you know what I mean? Like tight. So Lisa felt so much safer knowing that her bestie had Manny, obviously, but she still wanted to talk more and like was still worried for her. So she wanted to like chat more about this. But unfortunately though, Tracy had to hurry off the phone because her and Manny needed to leave to make it to their first classes of the day. And so Lisa's like, okay, well just promise that you're going to call me back this evening whenever you get in. I'll be home from work at this time. Call me then and we'll talk more about this. Tracy's like, okay, promise, love you, bye. And they hang up. And it's at this point that we transition to my handwritten notes. So Lisa tries to call Tracy that night and there's no answer. She tries several more times, still nothing. So she goes on to sleep thinking maybe she and Manny went out and did something. She'll call me back in the morning, which is when they normally talk. So the next morning, Tuesday, she calls Tracy during their normal talking hours and again, nothing. Worried sick, Lisa calls a mutual friend that actually lived in the same building as Tracy and Manning, and his name was Tommy, and asked him to go check on Tracy. And he says, okay. He says, I'll call you back when I'll call you from her apartment. So I'm going to go in there. I'll call you from her apartment when I'm with her. Well, not even 5 minutes later, Lisa gets a call and it's from Tracy's landline, but it's not Tracy or Manny. It's Tommy. And he is screaming, saying that they're dead. Tommy then hangs up, calls the police. They arrive just minutes later. They find Tracy in her bedroom, naked, positioned in a sexual manner on the side of her bed, stabbed to death and raped and sexually assaulted. In the other bedroom, they find Manning, and he had also been stabbed to death, but his clothes were on and he was not posed. It was clear that there was a big struggle in his room. And crime scene investigators found the same screwdriver markings on the back sliding door, similar to Krista and Christina and Sonia's apartments. And just like before, Tracy's wrist had that residue, and so did her mouth from the duct tape. No duct tape was found at the scene. She had been cleaned. The crime scene had been cleaned. And now they're at a total of 5 victims, 4 women, all with brown hair and white skin, one really strong man, 4 women that all look the same. But mainly it's the fact that this happened when the patrol was at an all-time high.
Right.
The patrol had been at an all-time high since Sunday. So the fact that it's now Tuesday and something had happened when there had been state, local, and federal officials in the area, like going down every street, added more to the public hysteria. And so at this point, not only the FBI, but the National Guard is brought in, and Gainesville looked like a fucking war zone. I'm talking tanks. I'm talking military personnel on every street corner, like hardcore.
Wow. Good for them.
Right. Hundreds of students were immediately pulled out of school by their parents, picked up, taken home.
I think my mom would have came and got me too.
100%. 100% gone. And within 24 hours after the discovery of Tracy and Manning, so Wednesday morning, Gainesville police make an arrest. It's a freshman from the University of Florida. His name is Ed Humphreys, and they arrest him for domestic abuse after an altercation with his grandmother and set his bail at $1 million.
Wow.
Unheard of for a domestic abuse situation. And this suggested to the public that he was the serial killer because of how crazy high his bail was. And they were right, because investigators were looking into him as a suspect once they got this call about this domestic abuse. Because yes, was he violent? 100%. He punched his grandmother in the face. That's why they got that call. He hated women, was known to viciously hate women. He was known to be mentally unstable, always had a knife on his waistband, wore camo almost every day, and was known to lurk in the woods around Gainesville, like knew the woods of Gainesville like the back of his hand. And he would go on these wood walks every night. He had deep scars and scratches all over his face and mouth. Like, I'll put the mugshot up for you guys that they took of him that day. You're gonna be like, this has to be the guy. This has to be the guy. And not to mention, like, his eyes were hollow. You know what I mean?
Well, and he's a freshman. And when did the killing start?
Yep.
The beginning of the school year.
The day that they moved in. His eyes, though, you'll know when you see. And he would always make, anytime the camera was on him, like when he was arrested and escorted from building to building, and any picture of him or any video of him, he's smiling this like weird, creepy smile at the camera, like dead eyes, ominous smile.
Ugh, I hate that.
And on top of all of this, the cherry on top is the moment that he was arrested on Tuesday morning, the 28th, all of the attacks just stopped. There was not another one. However, something that investigators have been keeping really close to their chest is that there was something left behind at all of these crime scenes. There were no fingerprints, there was no hair. For what they had in the 1990s to track down criminals, all that shit was gone. So what you'd think, fingerprints and shit. They did have blood samples that didn't match any of the victims from every single crime scene. And all of the crime scene blood droplets that they had collected that were unmatchable to the victims came back as being type B. And this guy had type A blood. So it basically marked him out. Mm-hmm. The FBI says, I think you're on the right track with this guy, but I don't think he's the one. I don't think he would be sophisticated enough. The behavioral science unit is at this point stepping in. Like, we don't think he would be capable. This has got to be someone who's a little older, or two people. Some sort of like military tactical training to get in and out of these places, to make sure that no one hears or sees anything, to take the duct tape with them, because everyone knows that has been trained in such that duct tape is like a fucking gold mine for evidence, because your fingerprint gets melted into it, your DNA, your hair, your blood, everything that you could think of that has to do with you gets stuck in duct tape. So we don't think this kid would be doing it. He's like 18, and he's clearly just like mentally unstable and a violent person, but I don't think he'd be capable of this. So the FBI says, hold up, before we go forward with a grand jury, because they knew they weren't going to get an indictment for him, how about we run the information from these cases in VCAP. Now, I had never heard of VCAP prior to this, but VCAP stands for Violent Criminal Apprehension Program. And essentially, it's where you would type in your killer's MO, or like certain aspects of the crime scene that would be specific to these crimes, like the only way that you would connect them, And you would put this into this national database that has like every crime that's ever been committed in there with like an MO, especially the unsolved ones. And it would run it against the database to figure out details in crime. So the investigators are like, we literally have nothing to lose. So they immediately like input everything that they had about this person's MO into this VCAP database. And it comes up with a perfect match, only one. And it's from an unsolved triple homicide from 1989 in Shreveport, Louisiana. Trigger warning before we get into this. This involves the death of a child. On Friday, November 3rd, 1989, Sean Grissom was dropped off at his grandpa's house to celebrate his 8th birthday. His grandpa was 56-year-old Tom, who was divorced, lived alone, but also living with Tom at that time, but like not permanently full-time, was his daughter, Sean's aunt, 24-year-old college student Julie Grissom, who was attending LSU at Shreveport. And Tom tells Sean's mother when she drops him off, like, I'll bring him home Monday morning before school so you can take him. That gives us 3 nights to spend together. So 2 days go by and it's Sunday night. There's no word from Julie, Sean, or Tom. So Sean's mom calls the house multiple times, no answer. She's like, no big deal. They're probably out having fun. Like, it's his 8th birthday weekend. Again, it's the 90s, like early 90s. You're not
thinking anything.
You're not thinking anything. Like, they're just not at the phone. They'll call me back later. So she's like, I'm just assuming that he's going to be here before I need to leave to take him to school in the morning because that's what my dad told me. The next morning, it's Monday. They never show up. Again, she's trying to be like, maybe he was running late, dropped him off at school and will call me when he gets home. But to save time so she can make it to work on time, she picks up the phone, she calls the school and is like, is Sean there? Did he get dropped off by my dad this morning? And the school says, no, he was marked absent. Immediately, not wasting any more time, she calls 911. Police call a neighbor of Tom's, and because he could get there faster, he kind of lived out in the county, and was like, can you walk over? Again, it's 1989. Right. The police called the neighbor and were like, hey, can you walk over to Tom's house and check on them? We haven't heard from them for a few days. And the neighbor's like, yep, I'll head over right now. So he starts walking over, and he sees that both Julie and Tom's cars are still parked in the driveway. And also, as he's walking up the driveway, he spots the 2 newspapers from Sunday and Monday morning. And he's like, this is a part of Tom's routine. What the fuck? Like, I hope everything's okay. So he kind of like picks up his pace, walks up to the house. The lights are all on. He knocks on the door. There's no answer. He tries to open it. It's locked. So he goes around back of the to the back of the house, and he's able to get in like the back garage door that led to the backyard. And from there, he was able to enter the house through like the door that connected the garage to the house. So he walks in. He's in the like kitchen area, and lying in front of the back door off the side of the kitchen was Tom's body. He was stabbed to death and very clearly not alive. So without doing anything else, the neighbor walked back out the door, ran back over to his house, called police back, and were like, get the fuck out here. Police arrive at the house just minutes later. They find 56-year-old Tom Grissom stabbed to death on the floor of his kitchen near the back door. His 8-year-old grandson, Sean Grissom, stabbed to death, slouched over his legs, sitting on the couch in front of the TV in the living room. And lastly, they found 24-year-old Julie Grissom upstairs, positioned on the edge of her bed in a sexually suggestive pose, naked, raped, sexually assaulted, and stabbed to death with vinegar and like a towel on her body with her hair fanned out and brushed. There was nothing taken from the house, so this was not a robbery. There were no signs of forced entry, which was pretty common in Shreveport at this time because no one locked their doors. It was a really, really safe area. And there was very little to no evidence left behind except for type B blood. This case went unsolved and sat cold for a whole year at this point. Because this was in, like I said, November of 1989. The crimes in Gainesville happened in 1990 in August, late August. And obviously this matched all of the crime scenes in Gainesville, plus the fact that it had the type B blood, the same MO, clearly a sophisticated killer that's cleaning crime scenes, taking duct tape with them, like all of the things. And so essentially they're like, no doubt in our minds, these cases have to be connected. And they wanted to keep this close to their chest, but it leaked out to the media. Gainesville police were really, really, really mad about it. However, it ended up being the thing that broke the case wide open. So it thankfully went out. Not long after this news broke, and this would have been in early November 1990, a woman from Shreveport named Cindy calls Crime Stoppers and says that the Shreveport murders and the Gainesville murders were the doing of a man named Danny Rolling, who was a 37-year-old drifter. His name is Danny Rolling, Rolling. Rolling. So some people say Rawling, some people say Rolling. I don't give a fuck what his name is.
I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying his middle name was Rolling, last name Rawling.
No.
One or the other.
It's one or the other.
I was like, why did they do that?
Yeah, why would they do that?
Okay.
But I really don't give a fuck to say this man's name properly, so however it comes out, it's going to be that way. In 1989, Danny lived in Shreveport, and that's where he was from, born and raised. He was friends with Cindy, specifically Cindy's husband. So she was just friends by association. And after the Grissom family murders, he confided in Cindy's husband that, quote, he had a problem. And when the husband was like, what are you dealing with, man? He says, I'm addicted to stabbing people.
What the fuck?
She explains that Danny always walked around with this huge knife. It was a K-bar knife on his waistband, which matched the description of the knives used in all the murders. He was mentally unstable, and around the same time that he told Cindy's husband about his quote-unquote problem, he told Cindy that he was planning on leaving Shreveport to go to a place with, quote, tons of beautiful women that he could just stare at all day long, end quote. And basically, Cindy and her husband, after putting two and two together, that him saying that about his problem kind of aligned with the Grissom family murders, were good, because we don't fuck with you anymore. We don't want to talk with you. We don't want to be associated with you, and kind of cut him off. Well, obviously, police follow up with Cindy from this tip that she gave to Crime Stoppers and ask her if she thinks that this guy, Danny, could be capable of killing all 8 of these victims. 5 in Florida, the 3 in Louisiana. And she says, absolutely 100% he is capable. And he did it. Immediately, police turn their attention towards Danny Rolling. Again, he's 37 years old at the time, and they begin deep diving into his story. They find out that he was raised in a very abusive household with a narcissistic, abusive father. He joined the Air Force right out of high school, was kicked out 2 years later due to being, quote, mentally unstable. He then moved to Alabama after he gets out of the military. And this is in the 70s. And in Alabama, Louisiana, a bunch of those southern states, he commits several armed robberies. He gets arrested several times. And finally, he's put in prison, where he was for the majority of the 80s until 1989, when he was released and sent back to Shreveport to live with his parents. And his parents' house was only located a half-mile away from the Grissom family, from Tom Grissom's house. Side note, there is a long history of him escaping prison and shit like that. So there's a lot more, but again, I really don't give a fuck to talk about this guy. 6 months after the Grissom family murders, 3 months before the Gainesville murders began, Danny got in this huge argument with his father, where his dad ended up having to pull a gun on him and force him to leave the property, telling him to never come back, throwing out all of his shit with him. Danny goes to his car, grabs his gun, walks back in the house, and shoots his dad at point blank range, once in the head and once in the stomach, before he jumps in his car and he flees. Somehow, his dad survives.
Holy shit.
Tells police the full story, what had happened. A warrant is put out for Danny's arrest, but at this point, he's long gone. Side note, he hated his mom for allowing his dad to be the narcissistic, abusive asshole that he was, and his mom was fair-skinned, dark hair. Gainesville officers nearly shit their pants, but specifically one officer, because immediately what comes to mind is the fact that during the chaos of these serial killings in Gainesville, a bank in Gainesville beside the university within a mile radius of all of the murders was robbed at gunpoint in broad daylight on Monday, August 27th.
How the fuck?
So Monday, August 27th, noon, a masked gunman walks into the First Union. Some reports say First Union, others say different names. I'm just going to go with First Union because that's been the most common. Bank in the middle of the day and demanded a fuck ton of money from the teller at gunpoint. The teller gives the man all of the money that he requested, but it was the type of stacks that were booby-trapped or rigged with that red dye that explodes. The robber doesn't realize this, thank God, and just grabs the bag from the teller, runs out through the door and into the forest. And by the time police arrived, the masked gunman was gone, and he had this mask on that was like a toboggan, you know what I mean? Like a ski mask. And it was, instead of being all black, it was lined with white thread around the mouth and the eyes.
The fuck?
Yeah. Stitching. Yeah. So the robber gets away. By the time police arrive, they end up calling in canine units. I don't think they were able to pick up his scent on the night of the robbery on Monday the 27th, but they were able, because either a tip or someone saw something on the night of August 28th, Tuesday, to track his scent. Okay. And the dogs led the police officers to this abandoned campsite deep in the woods. Okay. And there they found the duffel bag with all of the money inside of it, and the red dye was like exploded everywhere. So clearly, like, the man had like tried to go through the cash and open it, and it exploded. So they ditched the money and fled the campsite in a rush. And the reason why investigators knew that this person had left in a rush is because left behind were a gun, a tape audio recorder, a thing of duct tape, and a screwdriver. Now, not realizing that the screwdriver that was left behind at this campsite was a perfect match to the one used in all of the Gainesville murders to get in the doors, investigators, just wanting to focus on the murders and not this robbery, decided to just put everything that they found at that campsite, so the money, the screwdriver, the gun, everything, into evidence, file it into storage, and come back to it once they at least got this case under control. Meaning, no one had ever examined any of this stuff, and no one had ever listened to whatever was on that cassette tape audio recorder. Curious to know if this was connected with Danny and the murders, investigators rush down to the storage evidence lockers, pull all of this shit out, send it off for testing, pull up that audio recorder, and press play. And it's a man. He's singing a song that he clearly wrote, where he sings about being a mystery killer. He explains how you effectively kill deer, specifically talks about murdering with a knife in graphic detail, before saying, and that man, the bad murder mystery man's name, is Danny Harold Rawling.
He wrote himself a song.
AKA the guy that they just got this random tip about from this woman in Shreveport was 100% in Gainesville, in the woods, in the area of not only this robbery, but the 5 murders that had taken place. And already this guy had a warrant out for his arrest for shooting his dad. Not to mention, he had a screwdriver on him that perfectly matched all of the crime scenes, and his military records, which they were able to pull, came back confirming his blood type, B.
Holy shit.
This was their guy. 100%. They immediately searched him in the system and found that at this point in time, November 1990, he was 40 miles south in Ocala in jail after burglarizing, armed robbing, however you want to say it, a supermarket on September 7th, 1990.
This is crazy.
That day that they figured out all of this, heard the audio recording, found out that he was in Ocala, they arrest him and charge him for the 5 murders in Gainesville and immediately transfer him to Florida's maximum security prison to await trial, which took place 4 years later because it took 4 years to get the case ready for trial. This is a huge case. And the entire time that they're preparing to take him to trial, Danny Rawling maintained his innocence until the first day of the trial, where he shockingly pleads guilty on all 5 accounts. And he says that the reason he did it was, quote, to be just like the superstar hero, Ted Bundy.
It's fucking disgusting.
He then continued to give detailed, full confessions of each crime and later confessed to the 1989 triple homicide of the Grissom family in detail. Now, once I tell you his sentencing, I'm going to give all of those who do not want to listen to the horrific detail of his confessions an out. But I'll give you a timestamp, like I said, down in the description.
I don't get an out, guys.
You don't get an out. But I'm going to walk us through like the trial and everything, and I'll tell you when to leave and when to come back. You'll see it in the description below. I'm just giving you the time to go ahead and scroll down there, figure out where you need to skip to, because once I tell you the trial results and everything, you'll be skipping then, okay? So on April 20th, 420, Happy wedding day. 1994, Danny Rolling was sentenced to death, and in 2006, he was executed by lethal injection on October 25th and pronounced dead at 6:13 p.m. in Florida State Prison.
5 days sentencing.
What do you mean?
He was sentenced, and then 5 days later they go.
No. April 20th, 1994, and then 2006, October 25th.
I would say that's the quickest death penalty I've ever seen.
No, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
So October 25th, 2006, he was executed by lethal injection. He died at 6:13 p.m. and his death was attended by several of the friends and family members of his victims. And normally at this point, I would maybe talk about how I'm always conflicted about the death penalty, but the worst is yet to come. So I don't feel bad. And this is my flag to you that wants to skip on. Press pause right now. Go ahead, figure out where you need to skip forward to. Everybody else that's staying, trigger warnings again for all of the things from the beginning in great detail. So we're going to start back on November 3rd, 1989. These are all of his confessions. This is in Shreveport, Louisiana. 8-year-old Sean Grissom was dropped off at his grandpa Tom's house, where his 24-year-old aunt Julie Grissom also lived. Around that same time that he was dropped off and his mom left, Danny Rolling was fired from his job at a local restaurant where he worked as a waiter. He goes home to his parents' house and he's angry and begins to just pace walk around the property and then goes on a further walk down the road. And as he's walking, like I said, this house was only 0.5 miles away from where his family's house, where he was living, was. As he's walking, he decides that the only way he can get this anger out is if he kills someone. So he makes sure that he's got his trusty K-bar knife on his belt buckle, and he stops. He looks forward, and in front of him is a house. And inside, the lights are on, and he can see a man and a boy and a young woman just kind of walking around. The house is lit up. So he walks up the driveway. He looks to the left. He looks to the right, confirming that any of the nearby neighbors, because they weren't right on top of each other. This is out in the county. Made sure that no one was looking. He walks up the driveway. He gets on the front porch. He kind of checks inside to see where everyone's at, opens the unlocked front door, walks in the home, goes straight up behind 8-year-old Sean, who was watching TV on the couch in the living room, stabbed him through the back, directly through his heart, killing him nearly instantly. Then Danny walked into the kitchen where he waited for 56-year-old Tom to come back in from getting the steaks from the grill on a platter. He hides behind the door. Tom walks in with the steaks in his hand. Danny immediately stabs Tom the second he walks in, got power over him in this very quick struggle, gets him on the ground. Tom is stabbed to death. Steaks are on the ground. This happened within seconds. He didn't even have time to react. After which, Danny stands up. He heads upstairs where he hears Julie getting ready for her best friend's wedding. She's freshly out of the shower in her room, about to get on her dress. Danny walks into Julie's room with his knife, threatening her, binds her, sexually assaults her, all the while telling her what he had just done to her dad and her nephew, then stabs her to death, untied her, posed her, went downstairs, got vinegar, returned upstairs, cleaned Julie's body, and then the entire scene, leaves. Fast forward to August, after fleeing the scene when he stabbed his father and drove straight to Gainesville. He gets to Gainesville. He finds this place in the woods beside campus, sets up camp. And again, it's on the map that I'm going to have on our socials. And on Friday, August 23rd, he decides that it's time for him to kill again. So he waits until dark and he heads out in search for his next victims with his gun, his screwdriver, his duct tape, and his K-bar knife. It is believed that Danny had actually been watching all of the new students as they moved into their Williamsburg apartments that day and essentially targeted Christina Powell and Sonia Larson because they were two very young looking, petite, dark-haired white women. Again, they were 17 and 18. I'm sure they looked very young. So in the dark, Danny walked a mile from his campsite to the apartments, used his screwdriver to pry the doors open as quietly as he could. And from his account, he first observed Christina asleep on the couch because her bed wasn't there yet and wouldn't be delivered until the next morning, Saturday, by her sister and brother-in-law. And instead of immediately attacking her, he goes upstairs and observes Sonia sleeping in her bed. And in that split second, he makes the decision that he was going to first attack Sonia and then Christina. So he takes a piece of duct tape in one of his hands and he takes his knife in the other, positions himself before he quickly places the tape over Sonya's mouth to cover her screams and begins stabbing her. Sonya fought very hard for her life, which was evident in her defensive wounds, but unfortunately she was unable to fend him off and was violently stabbed to death. Once Sonya was no longer moving, Danny quietly made his way down the stairs to find Christina was still sound asleep on the couch. He quickly taped her mouth shut, held a knife against her, woke her up by telling her what he had just done to Sonya, pulls her off the couch, binds her wrists behind her back with more duct tape, and then he cuts Christina's clothes off with his knife, forces her on the ground face first, where he raped and stabbed her to death through the back. Danny went back upstairs to Sonya's room, where he cut off her clothes and her bindings, raped her lifeless body. And then he mutilated her breasts by cutting off a nipple and posed her body, brushed her hair out, moved it, put the duct tape in his pockets, and returned downstairs to Christina's body. Just like Sonya, he removed all of her bindings, put them in his pocket, mutilated her breast, and posed her body. Lastly, he got a towel and some dish soap. He cleaned the girls' bodies and the scene, then took a shower in their bathroom and left, heading back to his campsite. There, he basically paced around excitedly for hours, unable to sleep, before he couldn't stand it out any longer and decided to go back out and attack another person, which is when he remembered a woman that he saw through her apartment windows that looked to live alone just a day earlier when he was just walking around town, and that was 18-year-old Krista Hoyt. So at approximately 8 a.m., the next morning, after not sleeping all night, just pacing excitedly, Danny Rawling grabs his screwdriver, his gun, his K-bar knife, and his thing of duct tape, and he walks a half mile through the woods to Krista's apartment and goes through her back sliding door, prying it open using the screwdriver in broad daylight, only to find that Krista was not home. Remember, she worked night shift at the sheriff's office as a records clerk. But instead of leaving, he decides to wait on her in her closet for hours. At 11 a.m., Krista returns home, and she has no idea about the horror that is waiting for her inside. So she goes about her normal routine. Instead of immediately attacking her, Danny watches and waits as she gets settled and is confidently thinking she's safe before he sneaks out of the closet into the living room where she was standing, went up behind her and grabbed her in a chokehold. At first, Krista tries to fight him off in her shock, but she quickly gathers herself and complies with whatever Danny is asking. He then used duct tape to bind her wrist and gag her, covering her mouth, before leading her into her bedroom, where he cut her clothes off using his knife and raped her face down on the bed, and then stabbed her to death through her back, rupturing her aorta. And when I say that he raped her and sexually assaulted her, I mean he did this for hours, torturing her. He then flipped her lifeless body onto her back, removed all of the duct tape that was placed on her, put it in his pockets, cleaned her body, cleaned the scene, posed her, cleaned himself up, and he left. He gets back to his campsite and he realizes that he had left his wallet in Krista's closet. So he gets up and he walks a half mile back to her apartment like it's any other day, still in broad daylight, got his wallet, and decides that there was, quote, not enough shock value for him. So in that split second, he takes his knife and he decapitates Krista's remains, poses her body once again on the edge of the bed, hunched over, and then places her head on the shelf, looking towards her body and also towards the sliding door. Once again, he cleans up her body and the scene and himself before leaving and walking back through the woods to his campsite. At this point, it was midday on Saturday the 25th, so it would be another 24 hours before Krista and Sonya's bodies were even discovered, and that would happen hours before Krista's body was discovered by the two deputies. So from what investigators could tell based off Danny's confession and their own research, it seems like he had spent most of Saturday and Sunday sleeping and planning his next attack, while also writing and recording these songs that he had written about his killing spree at his campsite. On the morning of Monday, August 27th, Danny decides that he wants to rob a bank. So he got his ski mask, which I have photos of on our Instagram, his gun, his knife, and a duffel bag, and walks to the First Union Bank through the woods from his campsite, which is near campus. And he robs them at gunpoint, which I already walked you through. And after that, he returns to his campsite. He realizes that the money's rigged. He's pissed the fuck off and angry about it. So he decides that he wants to kill again to get his frustration out. When night came, he grabbed his screwdriver, his gun, his duct tape, and he walks a mile to the edge of the woods at the first apartment complex that he came to, stood at the edge of the woods just looking around and observing, and in that moment just walked up to the first apartment that he saw, knowing nothing about anyone that lived inside. He went through the back sliding door, prying it open with his screwdriver, and entered. He walked around the apartment and first saw 23-year-old Manny Tabota asleep in his bedroom on his bed, and then observed either in her bed or in the shower 23-year-old Tracy Paulus. Danny went back into Manny's room and just started stabbing Manny out of his sleep repeatedly. Manny woke up and begins to violently struggle with Danny, screaming out to Tracy to run, but it was too late as Manny's injuries were far too extensive and fatal by the time that he was able to react. Hearing this commotion, Tracy either ran out of her bedroom or out of the shower and into Manny's room, where she witnessed Danny's final stabbings of a now lifeless body that belonged to Manny. In a panic, Tracy ran back into her bedroom, shutting and locking the door behind her and using her body to barricade the door as a very calm, cool, and collected Danny walked down the hallway slowly, stomping to her room. Once he got to the door, he busted it down with his shoulder. Once inside her bedroom, Tracy just stood back with her hands up and asked him, "Are you the one?" To which he said, "I'm the one." He had her turn around. He put duct tape over her mouth, bound her wrists behind her back, cut off all of her clothes or either ripped off her towel. Danny then forced Tracy face down on her bed, where he raped her before stabbing her to death 3 times in the back. He then took off the duct tape, cleaned and posed Tracy's body, and left, going back to his campsite where he stayed until Tuesday evening, only leaving in a rush because he heard canine units searching the woods for him, aka the bank robbery suspect. And that is the confession, and that is the case.
What a sick motherfucker.
And the reason I even found out about this case was actually from a Patreon member. They recommended it in our recommendation group chat. And the reason why it caught my eye was because this case was actually what inspired screenwriter Kevin Williamson to write the script of the 1996 film Scream.
I hate that even more.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Fucking... see what I mean when I told you I could have gone down way worse?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I didn't let myself even do a background on him because I was like, I honestly could give less of a fuck. Like, I do not give a fuck what his story is. I don't give a fuck how damaged he was. I don't give a flying fuck.
Yeah, he's fucking evil.
Yeah. That's my case. Thank God it's over.
Yeah, you did great. That was a terrible fucking case.
Terrible case, and I apologize formally.
Yeah, I wish I got the opt-outs.
Yeah, that's my case though.
Well, thank you for that.
I will not say that you're welcome. I'll say I'm sorry.
I appreciate apology
not accepted.
Maybe
it's appreciated.
Yes, apology appreciated.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So today I'm covering the Smurl Family Haunting, or the haunting of Chase Street. Chase. Got Chase. Yeah, Chase Street.
All right, I'm ready.
In August of 1973, the Smurl family, consisting of Jack and Janet Smurl and their 2 daughters, Heather and Shannon, moved into a duplex home on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. Okay. So this is near like Wilkes-Barre, near Scranton.
Okay, yeah.
So we're with The Office.
Got it.
Michael Scott is moved into the other side of the duplex.
He is who we're talking about today.
Yeah, him and Janet. Yep. Is that her name? Jan. Him and Jan they just got their flat screen on the other side of the duplex.
100%.
The family was forced to move after Hurricane Agnes had caused a lot of flooding in the area, even though I know that sounds crazy because it is Scranton, Pennsylvania, but it was on the East Coast. And ended up with a lot of flooding, and their home in Wilkes-Barre ended up having a lot of water damage.
Do you remember?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying both.
Damn it. Was it Wilkes-Barre? It was something so...
Can't be Barry.
Not right.
Yeah.
You guys know
liars.
what we're talking about. We're not going to do howtopronounce.com.
Howtopronounce.com. So they were forced to leave their old home because there's just too much water damage for repair. So Jack and Jill went up the hill. Jack and Janet and their daughters Shannon and Heather found that this new duplex home was a bit of a fixer-upper, but it was much better than the state of their other home after the floods.
Oh, got it.
A couple months after moving in, Jack's parents decided to take the other half of the home and move into the duplex.
Yes,
built-in next door babysitter, say less, but built-in next door in-laws, maybe say more.
Yeah. Actually, let's think about this.
Let's pause.
Are they cool?
Think. Regardless, yes, I think they had a good dynamic, but it couldn't have came at a better time because Janet was pregnant and she was pregnant with twins. Now
she's happy.
The sources differ on this. And as a matter of fact, the sources on this entire case say something differently. When I tell you I had 9 different articles pulled up and I was literally only being able to pick the detail that matched in all 9 articles.
Yeah.
Every single thing said something different.
Yeah.
And that's because of how the family portrayed the story later on through books and through interviews, because they changed their story.
Got you.
A bunch of times. So there's a lot of information out there. So just bear with it. I don't know if she had fucking twins or
not. Both of our cases today. If there's a date and a time,
the timeline doesn't exist.
Yeah, timelines don't exist today.
So also for starters, so this family moves in, and then some sources say the haunting started almost immediatay.
Yeah.
Others say the haunting started 10 years after they lived there.
Got it. Okay.
So
I'm gonna freak out if I say got it.
Edit.
For another set of fucking notes. Oh my God.
They were a normal family with normal day-to-day activities, work, school, extracurriculars. There was some weird stuff that was going on in the home, but nothing that was cause for concern. It was during repairs and remodeling that little things had started to happen. Tools were going missing, and then the tools were reappearing. They would paint their walls to cover up these old stains, but coats and coats of paint weren't stopping these stains from seeping through the new paint.
Oh God.
The house also filled with these awful odors, but would break up within minutes. So they were just like asbestos.
Someone just shit their pants.
Yeah, someone just literally laid ass. What is the phrase?
Pass.
Did you just... What do you say to someone and be like, oh my God, did you just lay ass?
No, that's not it. It's, did you just rip ass?
Yeah. Clearly we're girly, so we don't rip ass.
We don't rip ass. Except for literally 2 nights ago,
except for that one recording.
that we're sworn to secrecy. That we're sworn to secrecy about.
Last week.
we're sworn to secrecy about it.
We were sworn to you now all are being sworn into secrecy. Last week, Taylor and I, or 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Taylor and I were so gassy that our stomachs were literally hurting us.
Gurgling while we were recording.
Like, at one point, I was cramped and locked up. And we both looked at each other and she was like, me too. And I was like, okay. I said, well, we both can't quit the recording.
We can't keep holding this fart in either.
We're just going to have to like let them go. Like this is this is a hall pass.
This is a hall pass.
And
let it rip as needed.
And yeah.
And luckily,
neither of us did.
At least loud.
Because even though we said that, I still couldn't do it.
I couldn't fart in a room where it's only you and I. Like if we're in a hotel, we've done it before. Whatever. Yeah. I gotta shit my pants, and we'll walk outside and we'll fart and we'll come back in. But like,
why are we talking about this?
Because women fart too, and stop being pussies about it, okay, you guys?
I'm a pussy about it.
Yeah. So
they had these awful odors. They weren't laying or ripping ass. It was something else in the house, but they were remodeling. They were opening up a lot of walls. So like, it's an old home.
Oh yeah, dude.
So these smells were breaking up within minutes. But again, this was an old house, and they just wrote it off as these like remodeling quirks that probably just needed to be a little worked out. Jack was promoted at his job, and he became his daughter's softball coach. Like things in life are looking out for them.
Yeah.
New house, grandparents are moving in next door, new babies are coming. Promoted at his job, daughter's softball coach. And Janet became really heavily involved with the high school. She started organizing events like the anti-drunk driving campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
So she would put those together on at the local high school.
Wow.
The girls were excellent students and they were really involved in their extracurricular activities. And the in-laws were busy being grandparents. But this picture of family normalcy that the Smurl family gave changed when things started to escalate. It started when their television set burst into flames.
Holy shit.
Out of nowhere. No electrical reasoning around. And alongside that, scratches that resembled those from like a large cat, like tiger claw marks, started to appear on the walls and on the shower curtains.
That's where we draw the line.
That's where I would draw the line. They were awoken in the middle of the night by bizarre banging noises on the walls and in the ceilings. Doors started opening and closing. Toilets were flushing on their own. And the stenches in the house were getting stronger. And life in general for the family was starting to go downhill pretty fast. They were struggling to make ends meet. Jack's mother, Mary, suffered a heart attack.
Oh.
And they're all stressed watching their six the entire time they're in their own home.
Right.
And things were really beginning to intensify in the house. Mary, who again is Jack's mother, and Janet claim to have heard voices that sound like someone in the house, but there's never anyone there. So, for example, Janet thought that she heard her mother-in-law calling her name, but when she came to answer this call, Janet, come here, Janet, come here, sounds just like her mother-in-law, Mary, but when she went to that direction, the voice, there was no one there on their side of the house.
Oh.
And on the flip side, Mary thought that she was hearing Janet and Jack having these really heated arguments, cursing at each other. And this was really out of character. This was not how their relationship was. So when she would go over to the house to make sure everything was okay, nosy mother-in-law, when she would go to investigate, she would see that they were always fine. They'd be like, we weren't fighting. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
Either they're gaslighting or
either they were lying.
Was impersonating them. Water pipes were beginning to leak, even though they were checked out by plumber after plumber, but they just couldn't seem to get a grip on it. The house was always extremely cold. And then with the cold came the manifestations. This went on for about 10 years. Again, the timeline, I don't fucking know. I'm so serious. Look it up and you tell me the timeline. And good luck.
If you really are going to come challenge Morgan about it, send it to the email so I can see it too.
Good fucking luck, because I couldn't figure it out. So it was 1985 and the Smurl family had lived at the home for a little over 10 years at this point. 12 years to be roughly exact, I guess. Janet, Heather, and Shannon were sitting around their kitchen table, and Janet was getting her girls ready for Heather's confirmation into the Catholic Church that night. Got it. So they were sitting around the kitchen table. She's doing their hair. She's fixing their bows or doing whatever they were doing to get ready when something fell from the ceiling, smashing on the kitchen table and busting open a large gash onto Shannon's forehead.
Oh, shit.
It was the ceiling light. Janet said there was no warning and it happened in a matter of seconds, delaying their arrival to the confirmation. Now, there's two versions to this because there's always two versions to every fucking thing that we do.
Yep.
And the other version says that it was Shannon who was sitting at the kitchen table alone by herself doing homework when the overhead ceiling light started to swing back and forth. And then it snapped, falling onto the table. And it was the glass that had like shattered like after effect that came and put that gash into her forehead.
Yeah.
Jack said that he and his father had installed this ceiling light themselves during the remodel.
You know that ain't shit ain't no fault.
He said we use these really thick 14 bolts and there's no way that could just rip itself out of the drilled hardwood. We hit that stud.
100%. And not even that. We caulked it to the fucking ceiling. So ain't no way that thing's falling.
Caulk and stud.
Yep. Caulked and stud.
It ain't going nowhere.
It ain't going nowhere.
I wish we could have dad sayings on merch. That ain't going nowhere.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
From Father's Day?
Too late.
Fuck! Next year!
Yep. That phrase ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, that ain't going nowhere.
Can someone remind us next February, please?
In Feb, reach out and say, don't forget your dad t-shirts.
And then give us the quote.
Yeah, no, we'll remember them immediately. That ain't going nowhere.
No, we won't.
I'll never forget my
Taylor,
favorite one from the couch of you. I'll never forget it.
Do you know how many times we say to each other, "Oh, we won't forget that." Don't just mark it down. We'll remember.
How could we forget when we have an audio journal of our lives?
Answer your own question, Taylor.
I don't know.
Because we forget everything.
But now we have transcriptions and we can search through.
Oh, thank God.
Dad quotes. Dad quotes. That ain't going nowhere.
Dad quotes. That ain't going nowhere. So yeah, Jack's like, no, me and my dad did that, ain't going nowhere. Anytime there was this icy cold that swept through the house, there was a strange black human shape that would materialize.
I'm sure she would.
Janet spotted this once in the kitchen, and she said that it was about 6 feet tall and that it had no facial features.
Fuck.
This same apparition also happened to appear to Mary in her kitchen on the other half of the house.
No.
So it's on both sides.
Yeah.
It had escalated so bad that the family started to be extra vigilant about what was going on in the house. They were paying attention to everything. They were conversing, telling each other what they've seen, heard, or felt. Communication was key for this because I think they all thought they were going a little crazy.
Yeah, like, are you doing this to me or are you doing, vice versa?
And this is when it comes out about, trigger warning here for demonic essay.
Whoa. I was not expecting this.
Is that what I don't even know.
Yeah, no, that's the proper trigger warning, but
so when they all sit down and they're like, we got to be, very open about what's going on in this house. Let's communicate. Jack comes forward to his wife and tells her about his sexual assault in the family living room.
Oh God.
Jack alleges that he was raped one night while watching a baseball game in the living room by a succubus that had the body of a young girl and the head of an old woman. Yeah, like paralyzed, couldn't move, couldn't fight back.
No.
He felt violated and he felt really shameful about the situation and he didn't really know how to talk about it.
Oh God.
But thank God he did, because when he did, his wife turned to him and revealed that she too had been sexually assaulted by an entity.
Oh my God.
But her assaulter was not visible because it was dark and in the middle of the night and she was in bed while her husband was asleep. She said that she was completely paralyzed. And I mean, it's pitch black. She can't see anything.
Yeah.
She said she was completely paralyzed, like in sleep paralysis, by something and was unable to struggle at all against this unseen attacker. So now they both are aware of the situation at hand. Well, later on, shortly after, one night while Jack and Janet laid in bed, Janet was sleeping next to Jack and he was like in and out of sleep, so like not there yet,
just dozing
off, when he started hearing someone whispering in the bed with them. And he said that it sounded like a young woman. And when he turned to face his wife, he watched the shadow figure like crawl up from her toes into like her pelvic area and disappear. And this is when things got dark quick. They were hearing footsteps throughout the house when no one was walking, specifically on the stairs. Their chest drawers were opening and closing. Like, we're full-blown poltergeist right now.
Yeah, full-blown.
Radios that were unplugged were being turned on. Stations were changing. Rocking chairs were rocking while empty.
What the fuck?
Rule number one. If you have a haunted house, if you have any speculation,
get rid of a rocking chair,
that your house has anything in it, friendly ghosts or anything, get rid of the fucking rocking chair.
If you have a rocking chair, burn it.
That is rule number one.
Burn it. We've talked about it for years.
We are an anti-in-home rocking chair.
Fully.
Until
a baby nursery? Sorry, I can't.
Maybe a recliner.
Maybe.
Dude, I hate rocking chairs. I like outdoor ones. I will say.
What sucks is we have a side-to-side rocking chair. One day I'm going to be up here doing my notes.
It's going to be...
I'll throw these out the window.
Yeah.
Just so you know. I'll bust all the windows.
She's going to she hates these chairs, so she's going to make a lie.
I'm going to make a lie.
They were rocking.
They were rocking back and forth. We burned them in the backyard.
I had to burn them.
I hate these chairs.
There's nothing that I could have done.
Guys, the only thing I hate about season 4 studio are the chairs. But there was no better option.
I don't mind the chairs. I hate the curtain.
The curtain can also burn in hell.
Yeah, I don't mind the chairs.
I love the wallpaper. I love the color. I love the vision that's here.
Mm-hmm. We just
hate the chairs.
We didn't execute it the way we wanted.
We were in a rush. We had no choice.
We literally got hit by a tornado alone.
We both moved homes and
had to build a studio.
On top of that.
3 days.
Within 3 days, and we hated our first draft, which we normally love our first draft. Mm-hmm. Something crazy happened this year.
Yeah,
but we didn't know what to expect from this area. It doesn't matter. Get back to your case.
Getting back to my least favorite part, they claim that their family dog, which was a German Shepherd, German Shepherd, sources vary, his name was Simon. He really received the wrath of these spirits.
Oh God.
They allegedly, the dog Simon was picked up and thrown against the wall in front of the family. And Janet also said that she got picked up one time, dangled about 6 feet in the air, and then tossed across the room.
Holy shit, 6 feet tall.
Yeah. Jake and Janet were again laying in bed one night, and they were woken up by this, they said, quote, this otherworldly howl.
What?
And they thought it came from Simon, who was usually laying on the floor next to the bed. Mm-hmm. So Jack kind of turned to comfort him, reached his hand down next to the bed, and something grabbed his arm.
No.
Simon doesn't have opposable thumb, so it wasn't Simon, and held his arm down there. And when he finally managed to let go and he was able to look over, there's nothing there but Simon. He was petting Simon, and Simon was fast asleep. He wasn't howling. He wasn't grabbing his arm. There was something else in the room.
Yeah, how the fuck would a dog grab your arm?
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe if Ollie was when I was half asleep.
I mean, yeah, but you would know that it was
right.
Teeth versus
and
a hot, sweaty breath tongue versus a clinch.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Simon at times would seem to be transported in and out of the house without any human help.
Oh God.
So all the doors, windows are shut, and they would come home and Simon would be outside.
Yeah, he's like, let me outside. If you're going to be here fucking with my house, let me outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Ollie would also gaslight the ghosts into letting them out.
Ollie would actually figure out how to walk through walls to get out of that house.
Yeah.
He would bust through a window if something like that was going on.
But he also could be a smart boy and manipulate and be like, well, if you just let me outside.
I swear.
I need to go pee. I'm going to pee on your favorite spot if you don't let me outside right now.
Yeah. He would. Janet said that one point she was doing laundry in the basement when she heard a woman's voice call her name twice. And this is important details, twice. And this voice was like, Janet, or whatever. I don't know.
Ew.
Janet. I don't know. I don't know what they said.
I'm sure it was for her to describe it as a woman's voice. It's like, Janet.
When this took place, her sister was in town visiting or was staying at the house. And so she had thought that it was just her sister. So Janet was like, I'll be right up. Just 1 second. She's, in the basement doing laundry. Who puts the laundry room in the basement? But when she got to the top, when she got to the top of the stairs, no one was there. The family was allegedly, and I say allegedly a lot because this is the alleged haunting of the Smurl family.
Right.
The family was allegedly being dragged from their beds at night, scratched, slapped at random, all while these noises continued. This time, instead of just footsteps, it was hoofbeats. Instead of howls, it was screams and moans. God. And voices that were calling out the kids' names, their names. Janet.
Holy hell.
Jack, Janet, Heather, Shannon, Mary. He's
everyone.
Yeah. I don't like that. That's the creepiest part.
Yeah, that is. But I'd say the sexually assaulting.
Well, yeah. Me too.
And seeing a morphed
Me too, but I personally, I would probably have written that off as sleep paralysis, night terror.
You're right. I probably would have too. And it's the waking things. When you're awake and it's daylight outside and you're operating as normal,
things are still happening,
and something happens, that's when it's the most unnerving, because when it's nighttime, you can almost write it off. I had a glass of wine, or
I was half asleep.
I was tired. I took a NyQuil. I wasn't sick I was sick that day.
Exactly.
Yeah, anything.
These many instances were enough for the family to seek out for outside help, except they didn't go to the Catholic church that they were members of. Instead, they went to a pair of paranormal investigators. They went to Ed and Lorraine Warren. Welcome to the party.
Where the fuck are you? Where have
you
you been
for the 10 years, or could be a month or a year?
Right,
who knows?
Right.
So anyway, Ed and Lorraine, as we all know, are very controversial paranormal investigators, and I am not really diving too deep into them with this house.
We've done stuff on the past
because there's not a lot written about it, but Lorraine does have her interview videos.
Okay.
Up online. If you were interested in that, go to their YouTube channel. They're still there, I'm sure.
You did cover the Warrens a long time. People were asking whenever you covered Lindley Street if you've covered the Warrens. You've covered the basics, but you've never done a full dive
into the Warrens. And honestly, I don't think now's the time.
No, now is not the time.
maybe in 5 years.
It's just gonna have to be like a passion project. You know, that's a lot.
So Ed did his best at using his religious practices to try to bring out what was ever in the home, try to remove what was in the home. While Lorraine got there, she started touring the house. She was looking to connect with whatever was there. They did experience some things. Basically everything that I had listed, they experienced something that I've already said. The Warrens believed that there were 4 presences in the home. There were 2 women, with the younger being past the age of a teenager. Lorraine felt that she had a little bit more of like a malevolent tendency. So she was a little bad. She was
the one that he saw with the woman's head, though.
Yes. Another was the spirit of a man who Lorraine felt had died in the home decades earlier or on the physical property itself, and that he wasn't as bad.
Okay.
And then the older woman also was just either naturally died in the home or had some sort of tie to the home, and also didn't seem to be a bad spirit.
Oh, really? I would beg to differ.
But the 4th entity that the Warrens believed there was a very powerful demon, and they believed that this demon had reigned over the home for quite a while and had supernaturally, this is a quote, supernaturally forced the home's 3 spirits to torment the Smurls.
Got you.
So there were 3, like, not so bad, not terrible. They weren't
on
evil,
their own.
But like the teenage girl was a little bit of a troublemaker.
Yeah.
But like the other 2 were just natural causes or had died around the property. And
just had ties to the home.
And then the demon came in and had them
forced them as slaves. Yeah.
Yes. Against these very powerful odds, the Warrens decided that they were going to put the family in touch with an Episcopal priest, which I found interesting because the family was Catholic. I don't know how close the Catholic, close, I guess.
Well, Episcopal, we've talked about this when we covered Marty Davis, like Episcopalian and Catholicism, like
kind of line up.
Maybe the reason why they connected them with the Episcopalian is because like you need to loosen up. Like you need to loosen up, open your mind a little bit more, and we can. And
I also find it very weird that the Warrens really were in and out of this house quick.
Yeah, that's weird.
But this was the same time as Amityville.
So they're focused on Amityville.
Yeah. They're going on tour about Amityville. Yeah. So they get them in touch with an Episcopalian priest who came and performed an exorcism on the house. And the activity did start to dwindle down just a bit. But at this time, word had spread throughout the neighborhood and into the local media that the Warrens came to a house on Chase Street. Soon, news vans and reporters were staked out all over the neighborhood block. They were looking to break any sort of new information. I actually read an article from a neighbor's point of view, like years later, like I lived next door to the house. And that was really interesting. They were like, I had CNN on my front porch, like people, paranormal investigators from Germany were coming over and like questioning me and like.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They said it like really altered their life for like 5 years.
I'm sure it did.
Once it got into the media, representatives from the Roman Catholic Church in Scranton were a little more interested in what was going on with this family. So they sent out multiple priests to visit the Smurls to bless their home. And these priests reported that they encountered, quote, no harmful activity while on the property. As a result of not finding anything and the Smurl family being like, no, something is happening here. Like, you're our church, please help us. The Catholic Church then sent a priest to live in the home briefly with the Smurls. So basically,
like the Catholics are making a comeback.
Basically, though, so that the Catholics didn't look cold to the whole situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We had the Episcopalians come in before.
Yeah.
We need to have a Catholic priest in immediately.
Stay with them. However, after half of a week, so just 3 days, it's not even a long time.
Half week.
The priest left because, again, they said that there was no activity surfacing in the home whatsoever. So I found that a little interesting too. But this is after the exorcism.
Right.
And activity had dwindled at that point. However, the Smurls underwent a second and third exorcism shortly after the Roman Catholic Church got involved. The Smurls brought in Father Robert McKenna. He conducted 2 exorcisms in Latin and more than 50 Catholic masses in the home, which allegedly just infuriated the demon even more.
Yeah.
And it was at this point that the Smurls appeared on a Philadelphia talk show called The People Are Talking. And this show was hosted by a man named Richard Bay. During this interview, apparently the demon allegedly reacted to the Smurls having this on-air interview by sexually assaulting Jack again during the interview.
What?
And appearing to him, Jack said it was like half man, half pig. And like he was getting raped on stage, on set.
Is this like recorded?
I couldn't find it.
What?
So I don't know. This is a talk show in the
Did they do 70s? It in the house?
So, well, I'm also thinking it could have been like a radio broadcast.
Well, that, and it's the 70s, so there's no ethical morals behind what's happening.
Yeah.
So this could have been staged.
Yeah.
As horrific, and not to be discounting his experience at all, but being reasonable about what type of case this is. It's not a true crime case. It's a paranormal case.
And allegedly.
And we know the Warrens are involved.
Also, Janet was really like tossed around by this invisible force, like not like picked up and thrown around, but like kept getting like hit, smacked like, during this interview with the TV show. I have no idea.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm just, this is one of the cases that I have a really hard time
This
with.
is where it's unraveling.
Yeah. The family had tried to escape. Like one of the biggest critics to this case is, well, if it was so bad, why did you stay for so many years?
Yeah, but then it gets like victim blaming.
Well, they said, well, we knew that it would follow us because after the TV show, they decided they needed to escape for a little bit by going to stay at a campground in the Poconos. But with them was their terror that continued to torment them while on vacation. The demon was said to follow them onto their vacation into the Poconos, and then when they came back, it was following Jack into the workplace.
Oh, God.
So they believed that if they were to move, it would just move with them.
Yeah.
Because of the way it is traveling. It's attached. Finally, in 1987, the family did have enough of the activity in the home and they moved. Weeks into their new house, the black mass manifested and the terror began again.
Oh my God.
They reached out with one more final plea, begging the Catholic Church to come and perform a fourth and final exorcism, because at this point, the Catholic Church, their church, had not gotten involved with any exorcisms. They've come and evaluated the situation.
But they haven't done a full exorcism.
But they have not performed one. So details that went on during this fourth and final exorcism of the house is kept a secret to this day.
What?
Yes, has not been written out to the public.
That's crazy.
But it was believed to be the longest and the most powerful of the 4 exorcisms that the family endured. Today, the family remains out of the paranormal spotlight. Both of Jack's parents are now deceased, as is Jack, who died in 2017 due to like diabetic relations. Janet and her now adult daughters, they still live near West Pittston area and have reported no paranormal activity since that fourth and final exorcism. So this demonic battle for the souls of the Smurl family, the Smurls kind of won in this case.
Do you think that they're going to release it when they die?
I think that's the Catholic Church doing. I don't think it's theirs.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they could release it. What are they? Right. Catholic Church going to sue you?
Yeah, let me finish. I got a lot to say about them, actually. Now, of course, I say the story is alleged because they have faced probably the most scrutiny from the public for any haunting that I have ever looked into. I mean, it's half of you Google the Smurl Family Haunting and half of the articles are like sham, hoax, like so much and so forth. And it more so, I see it in all of them. Yeah. More so in this one.
What's crazy though is I feel like that's simply because a man is claiming to be sexually assaulted.
I agree.
And that's something that needs to be, as a society, we need to like take back and take a step, you know, not in the paranormal world explicitly, obviously, because that's...
But in general, I agree with you. That happens way too many times.
Very happens. Yeah, it very much happens.
So books were written. There was a movie produced. It was a Warren case. It was a recipe for scrutiny from the public.
Yeah.
That's what
Warrens
that was.
are involved immediately, an issue.
For starters, there was an interview with Lorraine Warren. And before the interview, as soon as the story hit the media, Jack came out and was like, look, I was not a believer in the paranormal until the incident on Chase Street. Like he stood strong on that report. But in his interview with Lorraine Warren, he tells her about this incident when he was about 9 or 10 years old. And he saw this pair of glowing eyes, had like no features. There was no body. It was just a pair of glowing eyes. The book also has a lot of inconsistencies with other interviews and video footage that had Jack saying something different than the story that he told the author of the book to write. According to Penn Live, Jack would consistently promise evidence of the dark forces to the press. Like he would be like, I will prove it to you.
I'll get it. Yeah.
I'll get you the proof. It's happening. It's real. But he never did. And he was also reported to be in talks to get a movie made, which it did. The 1991 TV film, the movie The Haunted, is based off of their family. And The Haunted film was adopted from the book The Haunted, One Family's Nightmare. One of their youngest daughters, so one of the twins, I guess, her name is Karen, Carin.
Carin. Karen,
maybe.
Yeah.
Karen said in a 2016 article that the family never got a dime from any of this. She said, quote, "We never made money from the book or the movie." She said, "Who would want to go through all of that media and public bashing? To the naysayers, I hope it doesn't take something as extreme as what we went through to make them believers. We wouldn't wish our experiences on anyone."
Wow.
And that's the case. So again, there's
controversy around it, and for good reason. There's a lot to it that seems almost literally unbelievable.
And like in the book, like how I told you when she was doing laundry in the room and she heard Janet.
Yeah, twice.
And she thought it was her sister. Well, in the book, that's recorded in a live interview, and then you go and listen to the book or read the book, and she doesn't say anything about her sister being in town. She doesn't say anything about her thinking it was her sister. She doesn't even say that the name was said twice. So like there's a lot. The story changed so many times that a lot of people were like, oh, I don't know. But again, this was in the heat of Amityville in the public.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they were probably not adding it intentionally to like be but like wanting you to care.
But I also think part of the reason that it is written off the way it is today, and like why it is so like why I'm even like it, is because the Warrens didn't spend a whole lot of time there.
Yeah.
And that's because they were fully invested into Amityville, but because the whole public at the time, the Warrens knew everything paranormal.
Yeah.
The Warrens knew everything supernatural. So when the public's seeing them just walk in and then walk out and never return, they're thinking
it's got to be a hoax.
Nothing.
Yeah.
The Warrens think it's a hoax, which is probably what has carried down the line now, which is why even the articles are biased. Every research
Everything
about this is biased, that this is a hoax.
I wish we could reach out and ask.
I'm sure the daughter would be willing to talk. I mean, she wrote that article in 2016 or was interviewed in that article 2016. She was the youngest, so she had to have been
That would be a bad
baby.
person for you to reach out to as an interview on the pod.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, I think maybe we should get that rolling.
Text Maggie.
Yeah, we'll let our manager know. She'll handle it.
So anyway, that is the alleged haunting.
That was a crazy case.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I know they're still around, so I don't want any lawsuits.
Yeah, no, I get
the information is crazy online. Family,
it's all over the
family.
place.
It's literally chaotic.
Yeah, and I also, like we said, I think that another reason why there's a lot of like miscommunication around this case is because of the sexual assault of a man.
Yeah, I think you're right too.
Because like that's hard to discuss and it's hard to admit and it's hard to give full details of. So you might change details.
Right.
Depending on who you're telling it to.
For haunting for the whole family, the children, the mother, the father, the mother-in-law.
The father-in-law, yeah.
To believe and have all sorts of different events take place. Like,
it's
hard to call it a hoax. Like, why would they all be in on something?
And why the fuck would they care if they never got a book deal, if they never got anything? You know, like what would be in it for them other than just to make them look kind of crazy?
Right.
To be involved.
And be terrorized.
Yeah, exactly.
By the
public. Be terrorized and be
that's what that
harassed.
one neighbor's article said. It was that, people would throw bricks through the window.
Jesus, why?
Like it was very
What do you
hard.
give a fuck, dude?
Yeah.
You want to throw bricks through my fucking window? I'm being attacked.
I did see in one article only that the next person that lived in that home had died of an overdose. I don't know how true that is. I saw it only one place.
There might be more on that, but I'm sure it's clouded and the shit. Well, thanks, Maureen. That was a really good case. Hey, I was thinking.
Hopefully, I brought up the mood. I guess.
Yeah. Woo woo. It's up.
Was it?
Let's go. Anyways, what I was going to tell you is that I know that you and I originally had planned for the creepy account to go out before this, but if we wanted to, I could put this out first, so that way you could only have to possibly edit the creepy account, which would be way easier to edit than this.
Bitch, that's on you. If you can get.
I can get this done, no problem, tomorrow.
That's fine.
Yeah, because if you want to do that. So guys, happy June. Happy Pride Month. Happy Taylor Month.
Happy Pride Month. You're going to hear our June intro next week.
Next week. Sorry.
We're swapping apps.
We're swapping apps. And yeah, I will still be sick. So I will be sick for 3 days.
She'll be good. And then she'll be sick again.
Just so you know, I'm healthy as fuck in real life time. In the timeline that is real life, I'm healthy. I'm just going to the beach with my family. So we needed to pre-record the week I was sick.
Yeah, she just surprised. I thought this episode was going out this week. So
yeah.
She just surprised me on that.
And I told Morgan, I was like, you might have to edit one. So which one do you want to edit? This one that's sitting at currently 2 hours and 20 something minutes. Let's see, 2 hours and 24 minutes.
How long was it creepy?
Not that long. We were fast because we were both sick and not feeling good and not about it.
How was the reading on it?
I think it was pretty good. I'm just sick and it's just going to be breaths and sniffles.
Yeah, those will be around probably for a couple times.
Honestly, they're easier because you can break them up and you have a week and a half to break it up and listen to 2 a day.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why.
Alrighty, guys.
Well, happy fucking June.
Happy June.
Happy June. Happy Pride Month. Happy Taylor Month. I'm going to go to the beach. Don't fucking talk to me. I'm going to have videos set up.
Who is she kidding, guys? She literally texted our manager.
I begged our manager.
She texted our manager. Doesn't even reach out to me first. Text our manager. Hey, girl. She said her name. Did they know her name?
Mags, yeah.
Hey, Mags. Just want to let you know I'll be out of town next week. A couple of things. Number one, I'd like to get these meetings scheduled next week when I'm at the beach. And then list the reasons why. List the 3 meetings that she wants to get scheduled next week while she's on vacation. And she goes, and again, I'm not sure about Morgan's schedule next week. She'll be at work, but it's just all up to Morgan's availability. Yeah. Subject to Morgan's availability. I get on my phone at work. I'm like, what the fuck is this bitch talking about? I text back in the group chat. I said, actually, Taylor will not be taking meetings next week because she's on vacation. I don't know what she's talking about. She texts back, please let me schedule a meeting while I'm on vacation. And Maggie's like, and me and Taylor are battling in the group. And Maggie's like, okay, so I'm actually not going to be bothering
actually not
you.
doing anything. We're not doing anything ever again. And everyone's fired. Well, because here's my thing. It's just, I'm thinking, wow, there's no recordings that week. It's such an easy week. It's because I'm on vacation. So I would like to go ahead and get some things done.
No, that's the point of a vacation.
No, but why not? I have to get those things done either way.
Well,
why
do
not?
it when you come back. You have to lay on the beach. You have to not fucking look at the email. I'm deleting Gmail from your iPhone.
Literally? I'll kill you. You're not allowed to
I
do
will
that.
tell Logan.
He's going to be working. Why can't I work when I'm down there?
You don't need to work.
You don't want to work.
No, you don't need to work. I don't mind to work. I'm going to be working anyway.
I'm like, I would love to work. Please let me work.
I'm working every fucking day next week. You're going on vacation.
I hate
she
it.
always does this.
I hate going on vacation. It's miserable for me. I would much rather work. It's too much fun. Okay? What if I miss something?
And again, Maggie, it's no big deal if we need to schedule a meeting while I'm
Morgan's
at the beach
like, I will fucking burn the house down.
I will literally kill you. I will kill you because, also it's my vacation too. And I'm not taking no damn meeting. But also, you really, truly, I don't care about meetings. You're not. I'm
just worried about your IUD.
I'm not.
I know, but what if you're out for 2 weeks?
What would happen?
What if it's embedded? We don't know.
Well, then that's just.
I just want to make sure you have ample time to recover. I already have you recording. I already selfishly have you recording within hours of the time that you get it removed.
My gynecology appointment is not of concern of your vacation.
It's on the calendar. It's of my concern.
I will remove it.
No, you cannot. I will add it back.
All right, guys. Kick her ass for me. And no one fucking DM, hey, Taylor, next week. I will.
If you're talking next week, talk to Morgan only.
I will block you if you're trying to get Taylor's attention next week.
You know what I'm going to be doing is going live.
She'll be live, yeah.
Hey,
with the stingrays.
If this goes out the way that I'm thinking that it's going to go out tomorrow morning, from the time that you're listening to this, me and Susan are going to go live. Get ready with me. 10:30 a.m. Friday, first week of June. So the day after this episode comes out, and oh fuck. Yo, and welcome back to Creeps and Crimes
Podcast.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Morgan. Happy Thursday and happy episode 193.
As a backup. Yeah.
Should we swap the intros?
Nah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't even know what we talked about in the other one.
Yeah, me neither.
Me either.
All right, love you guys.
Love you guys and bye.